It wasn't by accident that you pressed play. This video didn't simply appear in your feed, it found you. Because there are no accidents in a universe governed by hidden laws. Some call it synchronicity, others call it destiny. But the ancients knew that nothing appears by chance. Every click, every encounter, every whisper of curiosity is guided by unseen forces. And here you are, standing at the threshold of a secret that has shaped empires, inspired mystics, and awakened seekers across centuries. A secret kept hidden, because not all were ready to hear it. Something in you already knows this is not just another video. You felt it before, an unshakable sense that there is more to life than what the eyes can see, that thoughts, emotions, and desires carry power, that somehow, in ways you can't fully explain, your mind shapes your world. Have you noticed how sometimes a thought lingers in your head, and soon after the world seems to arrange itself around it? A chance meeting, a sudden opportunity, or perhaps a fear that, unattended, takes root and manifests as reality. This isn't coincidence. This is the mental law, one of the most powerful Hermetic principles ever revealed in the Kybalion. And tonight, you're not just hearing about it, you're being called to it. Close your eyes if you dare, and imagine this: a temple in the desert, stone walls carved with symbols that whisper of forgotten knowledge. Inside, a circle of initiates gather. They do not stumble here by mistake. Each has been drawn, summoned by an unseen current to hear words that change everything. That temple is not in the sand, but here, now. You are the initiate. The circle is this moment, and the knowledge that will be spoken has waited lifetimes to reach you. So let me ask you, what if your mind is not just something you have, but the very essence of everything that is? What if every star, ever, by sound, every breath in the universe, began first as a thought? The ancients believed this. They didn't just believe it, they knew it. And they left behind whispers, fragments of truth for those who would listen. The Kybalion is one of those whispers. But here's the mystery. The Kybalion doesn't give answers the way a modern book does. It speaks in riddles, symbols, echoes. Why? Because truth isn't given. It is recognized. And as you listen, something deep in you will awaken, not as something new, but as something long remembered. Think back through your life. How many times have you felt guided, nudged, pushed towards something you couldn't quite explain? Perhaps a book landed in your hands at the exact moment you needed it. Perhaps a voice whispered when you were lost. This way, not that. Now you find yourself here. Do you feel that subtle current pulling you? That's the same current that carried the Kybalion through centuries of secrecy, across the deserts of Egypt, the libraries of Greece, the alchemical chambers of Europe, until it arrived on your screen. Does that sound impossible? Too mystical? Consider this. If everything is mind, then nothing you encounter is truly random. The video found you because you called it, long before you pressed play. The ancients often spoke of thresholds, moments where ordinary life cracks open and something greater slips through. This is one of those moments. If you choose to keep watching, you are not simply consuming information. You are stepping through a doorway into understanding a law that doesn't just explain life, it shapes it. But be warned, once you step through, you cannot return to the comfort of ignorance. Because once you know that your thoughts create, once you see how your mind attracts, repels, shapes, and sculpts reality, you can never again believe you are powerless. And that realization is as heavy as it is liberating. Because if your mind is the architect, then everything you see around you, your triumphs, your struggles, your heartbreaks, were drawn first in the sketchbook of thought. This may be difficult to accept. It may stir resistance. But if you stay with me, you will see not only why it is true, but how you can wield it with precision. So here you are. Chosen not by me, not by algorithms, but by the law itself. You have been summoned to remember what you've always known, that you are not simply living in reality, you are generating it. The Kybalion called this the principle of mentalism. It is the hidden mental law. It declares, all is mind, the universe is mental. But what does that mean for you right now? It means that the life you are living is not a prison, but a mirror, a reflection of your deepest patterns of thought. And the instant you shift those patterns, reality itself begins to bend. Imagine the power of that. No longer chasing, no longer begging, but aligning, attracting, becoming. This isn't just philosophy. This is the mechanics of creation. And it begins here, with you hearing these words at this exact moment, in this exact place. The journey is opening, but before we step deeper, pause once more. Notice how you feel. Wait now. Is it curiosity? Is it resistance? Is it a quiet, burning recognition? Yes, I know this to be true. That feeling is the first ripple of the mental law at work. It is your own mind responding, aligning, resonating with truth, a truth that cannot be unseen. So let me leave you with this thought. You did not stumble here. You were called. And what you are about to learn has the power to alter not only how you see the world, but how the world itself unfolds around you. This is the threshold. This is the threshold. Take a breath. Step forward. And together, let us enter the forgotten chambers of Hermetic wisdom, where the hidden mental law awaits. Step with me now, beyond the threshold. You've heard the whisper of the law. But to understand its depth, we must journey backward, through centuries, through dust, through silence, to a time when wisdom was not taught to all, but guarded, protected, concealed like treasure buried beneath stone. Because the truth is this, the knowledge you are about to receive is not new. It is ancient, older than empires, older than scriptures, older than even the languages we now speak. It is Hermeticism, and for millennia it was called the hidden tradition. Imagine Egypt at the height of its power, temples rising like mountains, carved with hieroglyphs that spoke of gods and stars. Priests and initiates walked in silence, their lips sealed by oaths that bound them across lifetimes. Within those temples, not everyone was equal. The common people saw rituals, offerings, and myths. But the initiates, the chosen few, were led deeper into chambers of stone, where light filtered through narrow shafts, illuminating only what was meant to be revealed. There, they were taught truths not meant for the masses. They learned that the gods of stone were symbols, that the stories carved in hieroglyphs were ciphers, that behind the veil of myth was a science of the soul, a knowledge of laws that govern not just the heavens, but the human mind. This was Hermetic wisdom. It carried many names: the teachings of Thoth, the wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus, the secret doctrine. It was whispered that Hermes was not merely a man, but a bridge between the divine and the human, a being who encoded truth in symbols so that it would survive even as civilizations fell. But you may wonder, if this wisdom was so powerful, why was it hidden? Why not teach it openly so that all could be free? The answer is both simple and unsettling, because truth in the wrong hands becomes destruction. Think of fire. In the hands of one who understands it, fire gives warmth, cooks food, brings light to darkness. But in the hands of the careless, it consumes, destroys, reduces cities to ash. The laws of the mind are the same. To those prepared, they grant creation, harmony, freedom. But to the unready, they become weapons, tools for manipulation, greed, and control. So the ancients guarded their secrets. They spoke in parables and symbols, hiding the deepest truths in plain sight. They built mythologies not to deceive, but to protect. For they knew, when the soul is ready, the symbols awaken. When the seeker has matured, the riddle unfolds into revelation. And so the knowledge was passed in fragments, whispered from teacher to student, master to initiate, across deserts and oceans, through persecution and exile. Among these teachings were the Hermetic keys, 7 principles that form the very skeleton of creation. 7 laws that explain everything from the movement of galaxies to the beating of your heart. But here is the enigma. These principles were never given as commandments. They were not carved in stone like laws to obey. Instead, they were descriptions, maps of how reality already works. The greatest of them, the one from which all others unfold, is the principle of mentalism, the hidden mental law, the teaching that all is mind, that the universe itself is a thought. But before we reveal its full power, you must see the path that carried it into your hands. Consider this. Much of the wisdom of ancient Egypt, Greece, and the mystery schools was destroyed, burned in the library of Alexandria, silenced by empires, erased by dogma. Yet somehow the essence survived. It survived in the writings of Plato and Pythagoras, who studied in Egyptian temples. It survived in the secret codes of alchemists, who spoke of transmuting lead into gold, but truly meant the transformation of the mind into spirit. It survived in mystical traditions around the world, each carrying fragments of the same great truth. And now it survives here, finding you, as if the universe itself ensured that no matter how many fires burned, the law would never be lost. But the question must be asked, why you? Why now? Why would this ancient key reappear on your screen, in your life, at this exact moment? Because the time we live in is unlike any before. Humanity stands at a crossroads. Technology connects billions, but attention is fractured. Knowledge is abundant, but wisdom is rare. Power is available, but few know how to wield it without being consumed. The ancients foresaw such a time. They knew that one day humanity would need the forgotten keys, not as secrets for the few, but as tools for the many. And that day is now. So if you feel a stirring inside, a resonance with these words, it is not coincidence. It is recognition. The key is not being given to you, it is being awakened within you. And yet, before we step fully into the mental law itself, pause and reflect on this. Every great truth hides in plain sight. The Hermeticists knew this. That's why they spoke in symbols. Because truth is not something that can simply be handed over, it must be seen. So as you listen, ask yourself not, do I believe this, but rather, do I recognize this? Does something in you say, yes, this explains what I've always felt but never put into words? Because recognition is too, he signed. It means the law is already working within you. It means you are ready. The forgotten keys of Hermeticism are not dusty relics locked in libraries. They are living truths, vibrating in your very consciousness. For centuries they were hidden, guarded, veiled, but not to deny you, They were waiting for seekers who would honor them, wield them, and live them. And now, one of those seekers is you. You stand where countless initiates once stood, on the edge of revelation. The temple doors are opening. The silence is lifting. The law that shapes reality itself is ready to speak. So take a breath, steady your heart, and prepare. Because next, we step into the very heart of Hermetic wisdom. We will reveal the hidden mental law itself, what it means, how it works, and how it attracts everything instantly. The forgotten keys have been placed in your hand. Now, it is time to turn them. You've heard the whispers. You've walked the halls of forgotten temples. Now, the veil lifts. For all the mysteries, all the symbols, all the secrecy of the ancients, it comes down to this one truth. The truth they guarded, the truth they lived by, the truth that explains why some seem to bend reality itself, while others drift, powerless, as if tossed by waves. The truth is called the mental law. The Kybalion names it the principle of mentalism. It declares, in words simple yet infinite, all is mind, the universe is mental. At first glance, it sounds strange, even impossible. How can everything, mountains, rivers, planets, galaxies, be mental? How can matter itself be thought? But pause. Feel deeper. Haven't you always sensed that reality is more dreamlike than solid? That behind the physical surface there is something else, a field, a mind, a consciousness, weaving all things together? The ancients weren't speaking metaphorically, they meant it literally. That everything we call reality begins first as an image, a vibration, a thought, in the great universal mind. Just as your dreams feel real while you sleep, this waking life is the dream of the one mind. You are inside that dream. But here's the mystery. You are also a dreamer within the dream. Your mind is a spark of the great mind, a drop of the infinite ocean, which means the same law that governs creation flows through you. Think of it this way. When you imagine something, perhaps a memory, perhaps a vision, you create an entire world in your mind. Characters, colors, sensations. For you, in that moment, it is real. Now expand that idea infinitely. The universe itself is such a vision, sustained, projected, animated by the mind of the all. What you call matter is condensed thought. What you call energy is mind in motion. What you call life is mind awakening to itself. This is why the mental law is hidden at everywhere. It explains not only the cosmos, but your personal life. Because the same way the all creates reality through thought, so do you. Have you ever noticed how your inner world spills outward? When your mind is clouded, the world seems hostile, chaotic against you. But when your mind is calm, radiant, hopeful, the same world reflects opportunities, kindness, synchronicity. This is not coincidence. It is the mental law at work. Your thoughts are not private. They are frequencies, patterns of vibration radiating outward, and the universe, being mental, responds to them instantly, aligning circumstances, people, events, to mirror your state of mind. This is why the ancients said, as within, so without, as above, so below. Your outer world is not separate from your inner world. It is its reflection. Change the thought, and the reflection shifts. Change the belief, and reality rearranges itself around you. This is the secret behind attraction. Not luck, not magic, but the unshakable law that everything begins in mind. Imagine standing in a garden. In your hand is a watering can. Where you pour your water, life grows. Where you withhold it, weeds wither. Your mind is that watering can. Your attention is the water. Whatever you focus on, consciously or unconsciously, expands. Focus on lack, and lack multiplies. Focus on fear, and life gives you reasons to fear. But focus on abundance, on love, on possibility, and the universe blossoms in ways you cannot predict. This is why discipline of the mind was the highest training of the Hermetic initiate, because the uncontrolled mind is like a leaking vessel, scattering energy in every direction. But the focused mind is like a laser, bending even the hardest reality. Think of a time in your life when you wanted something deeply. Maybe a relationship, an opportunity, a change. At first it seemed impossible, out of reach. But the more you thought about it, imagined it, believed in it, the more signs appeared, the more paths opened, until one day it stood before you. This is not coincidence. It is the law, but it cuts both ways. Think too long on failure, and failure appears. Nurture resentment, and bitterness grows roots in your reality. The law does not judge, it simply reflects. Like a mirror, it gives back exactly what you place before it. And here lies the tragedy. Most people live unaware of the law. They believe life happens to them, not through them. They scatter their minds in worry, fear, distraction. And then they wonder why chaos returns to them multiplied. It is not that the law failed, it is that it worked too well. For the universe always says yes. Yes to the belief you hold, yes to the vision you repeat, yes to the story you tell yourself, whether joyful or despairing. This is why mastery of the mind is the first and greatest teaching. For until you command your thoughts, you remain a prisoner of your own unconscious creations. To know this law is to awaken to both power and responsibility. Because now you see, nothing in your life is random. Every pattern is the echo of a thought, a belief, a vibration. This can be frightening, because it means you can no longer blame chance, fate, or others. But it is also liberating, because it means you are not a victim. You are the author. You are the dreamer. You are the one shaping reality, moment by moment, with the brushstrokes of your mind. And if you can create suffering unconsciously, imagine what you can create consciously. You may wonder, if this is true, why does it take so long for desires to appear? Why doesn't everything manifest instantly? Here is the hidden nuance. The universe reflects not the fleeting thought, but the dominant state of mind. One hopeful idea cannot override years of fear. One vision cannot outweigh an entire pattern of disbelief. This is why instant attraction is not about demanding the universe obey you. It is about aligning so deeply with what you desire, holding it so clearly and consistently in mind, that reality has no choice but to mirror it. When your mind, emotions, and actions flow in one direction, the law responds swiftly. That is when attraction feels instant. Not because the universe suddenly gave you something new, but because you finally stopped scattering your energy. The ancients taught a simple but profound truth. To create, you must move from belief to knowing. Belief still carries doubt. Knowing is certainty, and the universe responds not to what you hope is true, but to what you know is true. Think of a time you acted with absolute certainty, when you knew, without hesitation, that something would happen, and it did. That certainty was alignment. That was the mental law, flowing through you unobstructed. This is why initiates were trained to discipline thought, emotion, and imagination, so that knowing became second nature. The mental law is not philosophy. It is living, breathing, active in every moment of your life. Right now, as you hear these words, your thoughts are vibrating outward, calling reality to shape itself around them. Pause. Notice. What are you thinking right now? What feelings are you carrying as you listen? These are not harmless. They are seeds. And the field of the universe never fails to grow what you plant. The question is not whether the law works. It is always working. The question is, what are you commanding it to create? This, then, is the hidden law, the mental law, the truth that all is mind. The recognition that the universe itself is thought, and your mind is not separate from the whole. With every image you hold, every word you repeat, every emotion you embody, you are sculpting reality. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. And the more you awaken to this, the more you see that attraction is not luck. It is law. It is the most intimate law of your existence. But this revelation is only the beginning. For if this law is true, it must not only echo in ancient temples, it must also appear in the language of science. And indeed, it does. So let us step forward into the laboratories and discoveries of modern times, where physics, psychology, and neuroscience stumble upon truths the ancients knew all along. The hidden law is not only mystical, it is measurable, and its evidence surrounds us still. The law has been revealed. All is mind. The universe is mental. But such a truth did not simply appear on paper in the early 1900s. Its roots are far older, stretching back through centuries, across temples, through fire and silence, until at last it found its way to you. To understand the power of the Kybalion, we must journey into the ancient world, where myth and philosophy were not separate from science, and wisdom was carved not into books, but into stone. Our journey begins in Egypt, the land of pyramids and eternal sun. For thousands of years, Egypt stood as a beacon of mystery. Its temples rose like mountains, each stone aligned not only with earth, but with the stars. Within those temples were the mystery schools, hidden sanctuaries of knowledge. The outer world saw rituals, sacrifices, and myths of gods with falcon heads and jackal faces. But within the inner chambers, initiates were taught that these gods were symbols, representations of universal forces, laws of mind and nature. At the center of this knowledge stood Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and magic. The Greeks later called him Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes the thrice great. He was said to have inscribed over 36,000 volumes of wisdom, though most were lost to time. In his teachings lay the foundations of Hermeticism, that the universe is a living mind, and that those who master its laws can shape reality as easily as clay. For the Egyptians, this was not abstract philosophy. It was a practical science of creation, used in healing, in architecture, in alignment with the stars. They believed to know the laws of the mind was to hold the keys of the gods. Centuries passed, and Greece rose. Its philosophers, Plato, Pythagoras, Plotinus, traveled to Egypt, studying in temples where foreigners were rarely allowed. They returned carrying fragments of Hermetic wisdom, embedding it in philosophy that would shape Western thought for millennia. Plato spoke of the world of forms, ideas more real than matter. Pythagoras revealed that numbers and vibration were the language of the cosmos. Both were echoes of the mental law. The Greeks honored Hermes Trismegistus as a divine teacher, blending his identity with their own Hermes, the messenger god. From this fusion came the name we now know, Hermeticism. As centuries turned to centuries, the wisdom of Hermes traveled underground. Christianity rose, empires fell, libraries burned, including the legendary Library of Alexandria, where countless scrolls of Hermetic knowledge were said to have been kept. Yet the wisdom survived in fragments, hidden in the hands of alchemists. To the outer world, alchemy was about turning lead into gold. But to the initiated, it was a metaphor. The true work was the transformation of the mind, from ignorance to illumination, from density to radiance. Their motto was clear: solve et coagula, dissolve and recombine. Dissolve false beliefs, recombine the mind in alignment with truth. Through this, the alchemist became gold, radiant, untouchable, free. The Hermetic law of mentalism, all is mind, was the foundation of their art. Then, in 1908, something unusual happened. A slim book appeared in Chicago. Its title, The Kybalion, a study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece. Its authors, anonymous, signed only as the Three Initiates. No one knew exactly who they were. Some say it was William Walker Atkinson, a pioneer of New Thought philosophy, joined by two fellow mystics. Others believe it was a secret society, finally releasing their guarded teachings to the modern world. The book contained no stories, no mythology, no history. Instead, it spoke directly, simply, clearly, outlining the 7 Hermetic principles. The first principle, the very law we are exploring, mentalism. All is mind. The universe is mental. The Kybalion was not meant to convince skeptics or scholars. It was written for seekers, those who already felt the truth, waiting for words to unlock it. Its style was plain, but its meaning infinite. And like the temples of Egypt, it concealed deeper layers, hidden in plain sight for those with eyes to see. The word itself, Kybalion, is a mystery. Its exact origin is unknown. Some believe it comes from the Greek Kybalion, meaning to receive or to transmit. Others see it as a cipher, a sound meant to awaken memory rather than describe a fact. Perhaps that is the point. The Kybalion is less a book than a key. It unlocks a recognition within the reader, awakening what was always there. For in truth, Hermeticism was never about external teachings. It was about remembering the laws already etched into the soul. Consider how remarkable this is. For thousands of years, across Egypt, Greece, Rome, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, and into modern times, this one principle has survived. Empires fell, languages died, but the law endured. Why? Because truth cannot be destroyed. It can be hidden, obscured, ridiculed, but it always returns. It returns because it is woven into the very fabric of existence. The Kybalion was simply the latest vessel, one more bridge carrying the forgotten law into a world that desperately needed to remember. And now, in our own time, when distraction reigns and minds are scattered, the law calls again. Through a screen, through a voice, through words finding you at this exact moment. The mental law is not new. It is eternal. It has lived through temples and scrolls, philosophers and alchemists, books and whispers. It has waited, through centuries of silence, for each seeker to be ready. You are part of that chain now. From Egypt to Greece, from Hermes to the Kybalion, from the hidden schools of the past to this very moment, the current of wisdom flows unbroken. And as we move forward, the question becomes this: can the mystical truly be confirmed by the measurable? Can the invisible be proven by science? The answer is yes. For even in laboratories and equations, the mental law reveals itself. So let us step now from the temples of stone into the laboratories of the modern age, and witness how psychology, neuroscience, and quantum physics echo what the ancients always knew. The ancients spoke in symbols, myths, and riddles. But today, the language has changed. It is the language of microscopes and brain scans, of particle accelerators and mathematical formulas. Yet beneath the surface, both the mystic and the scientist are gazing at the same truth. The universe is not solid, fixed, or separate. It is mind-like, fluid, and deeply interconnected. And as modern science has advanced, it has stumbled again and again into revelations that sound strikingly hermetic. Let us begin with the mind itself, your thoughts, your beliefs, your imagination. For centuries, Hermeticism taught, as within, so without. Your inner world shapes your outer reality. Psychology, once skeptical, has now proven this in countless ways. Take the placebo effect. A person given a sugar pill, believing it to be medicine, can heal, sometimes as effectively as real drugs. Why? Because the belief itself triggers the body's healing response. Mind alters matter, or considers self-fulfilling prophecies. A student who believes they are destined to fail often performs worse, not because of lack of ability, but because their belief shapes their focus, their effort, their very energy. Meanwhile, one who believes in their success unconsciously aligns every action toward it. Psychologists call it confirmation bias, the tendency to notice, attract, and act upon what matches our inner convictions. Hermeticists simply call it the law of mentalism. The world mirrors the mind, but psychology is only the beginning. Neuroscience now reveals how the brain itself rewires according to thought. This is called neuroplasticity, the discovery that your brain is not fixed, but fluid. Every thought you repeat, every image you hold strengthens certain neural pathways, while unused ones fade away. Think of it as carving channels in the mind. Focus on fear, and fear grows stronger. Focus on possible, and the brain begins to orient toward solutions. Visualization, long considered a mystical practice, is now studied in labs. Athletes who visualize their performance often show nearly the same brain activity as if they were physically practicing. The mind rehearses, and the body follows. This means what Hermeticists whispered long ago is true. What you hold in mind becomes real, not only in thought, but in flesh. And then there is quantum physics, the science of the smallest particles, where reality itself behaves like a dream. At the quantum level, matter does not exist as solid objects. It exists as probabilities, waves of potential that collapse into form only when observed. This is known as the observer effect. The very act of consciousness measuring reality changes reality. What does that sound like? All is mind. The universe is mental. Physicists like John Wheeler have described the cosmos not as a cold machine, but as a participatory universe, where reality requires observers to come into being. Max Planck, father of quantum theory, once declared, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. Matter is derivative from consciousness." Science, in its own cautious way, is catching up to what Hermes taught millennia ago. Some scientists now describe the universe itself as holographic, where each part contains the whole, and reality is more like information projected than solid substance. If true, this means the physical world is less like stone and more like a dream. And what directs that dream? Mind. Again, Hermeticism's whisper, the all is mind. Here is where things become breathtaking. The Hermetic tradition and modern science, though using different languages, are converging. Psychology shows your beliefs create your experience. Neuroscience shows thought reshapes the brain. Quantum physics shows reality responds to observation. And energy science shows emotions radiate into the world around you. Together they form a picture that looks astonishingly hermetic. The universe behaves as if it were mind. This is not abstract theory. It means your thoughts matter, literally. When you imagine, when you believe, when you feel, you are shaping probabilities, wiring your brain, programming your reality. Every thought is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. And the more consciously you wield this law, the more deliberately you shape the world around you. For centuries, science and spirituality were kept apart, even seen as enemies. But now, in our time, the walls are dissolving. What was once mysticism is becoming measurable. What was once whispered is now tested, scanned, and graphed. The message is clear. The ancients were not speaking in mere metaphor. They were describing reality itself. All is mind. The universe is mental. And now that science confirms it, the question is no longer if this law is real, but how you will use it. So let us turn now from theory to practice, because knowing the mental law is one thing. But living it, using it to attract love, abundance, healing, and purpose, that is where transformation begins. You now know the truth the ancients protected. The universe is mental. All is mind. But knowledge alone is not power. Applied knowledge is power. And the Hermetic tradition was never meant to be merely admired. It was meant to be used. So how does this law touch your life, here and now? How can the whisper of Egypt and the voice of science combine to transform your everyday reality? Let us step into the art of living the mental law. The first secret is simple, yet it changes everything. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses them. Most people drift through life as if their mind were a storm they cannot control. But the moment you realize that thought is creative, that every belief is a seed, you awaken as gardener of your own reality. Pause for a moment and notice. What thoughts fill your inner space most often? Fear or faith? Lack or possibility? Because whatever dominates within will echo without. To live the mental law is to become vigilant with thought, choosing, with awareness, the seeds you plant. Consider money. Most people think wealth begins in the external world, in salaries, investments, or chance. But the Hermetic view is different. Money, like all else, begins in the mind. Your beliefs about abundance determine your relationship with it. If you secretly believe money is scarce, difficult, or corrupt, you unconsciously repel it. If you believe wealth is natural, flowing, and aligned with purpose, you open the channels for it to arrive. Science echoes this. Psychologists call it a money mindset. Studies show people who believe opportunities are everywhere actually recognize and seize them, while those convinced life is unfair miss chances standing right before them. So, to attract abundance, the work begins within. Affirm daily, I am open to prosperity. I am a magnet for opportunity. Wealth flows easily into my life. Not as empty words, but as mental reprogramming, reshaping neural pathways, attuning your vibration. Remember, your bank account is not just numbers on a screen. It is a mirror of your deepest beliefs about receiving. Now turn to love, friendship, family. We often believe relationships are shaped by others, their moods, their choices, their actions. But again, the mental law says otherwise. As within, so without. Your relationships mirror your inner world. If you believe you are unworthy, you attract partners who confirm it. If you carry resentment, you magnetize conflict. But if you nurture self-love, respect, and kindness within, you draw people who reflect the same. This is not mysticism. It is observable psychology. Studies show we unconsciously train others to treat us according to how we see ourselves. Your boundaries, your energy, your inner dialogue, they teach the world how to respond to you. So the question is not, why don't they love me? The question is, how deeply do I love myself? When the inner answer changes, the outer world follows. What of the body? Surely flesh is solid, immune to thought. Yet science and Hermeticism both whisper, no. The mind and body are inseparable. Stressful thoughts weaken the immune system, while gratitude strengthens it. Visualization accelerates healing. Belief shapes biology. Dr. Joe Dispenza and others have shown remarkable cases where people healed chronic conditions through meditation, visualization, and belief alone. Placebos demonstrate this daily, healing triggered not by chemical pills, but by conviction. Your body listens to your mind. Every cell is tuned to your inner dialogue. So to live the mental law in health, speak to your body with reverence. See yourself whole. Feel yourself strong. Direct thought like medicine into every cell. For as Hermes taught, the body is the servant of the mind. How do you make this practical? Something lived, not just understood. Morning intention. Each morning before the world rushes in, choose your thoughts. Say aloud, today I shape my reality. I hold thoughts of abundance, love, and strength. Let this be your compass. Visualization ritual. Close your eyes daily. Imagine your desired life as if already real. See it, feel it, breathe it. Neuroscience proves this sculpts your brain. Hermeticism proves it sculpts your world. Affirmations with emotion. Words alone are weak. Words charged with feeling ignite creation. Say affirmations slowly with emotion until you feel their truth vibrating in you. Mental diet. Guard your mind as you guard your body. Refuse to indulge in fear-based thoughts. Replace them instantly with the vision you choose. Evening reflection. Before sleep, review your day. Where did you let fear rule? Where did you plant empowering thoughts? Adjust. Tomorrow, align even more deeply. These small rituals are the modern equivalent of the ancient initiations. They train your mind to wield Basihi mental law consciously. Here is the secret. You do not need to force the universe. You only need to shift within. When the inner frequency changes, the outer world rearranges itself. Opportunities appear. People respond differently. Health improves, synchronicities unfold. It feels like magic, but it is law. And when you live by law, you move with the current of the universe rather than against it. Now the truth is no longer distant or abstract. It is in your hands, in your breath, in your thoughts this very moment. Money, love, health, purpose, all bend to the direction of your mind. Not because you are forcing reality, but because reality is mental at its core. This is the art of living the law. This is how you move from passive dreamer to conscious creator. But one final step remains. It is not enough to know, not enough to practice. You must embody it fully. You must see yourself as you truly are. A creator, a spark of the all, a mind within the great mind. And so in our final chapter, we step into that empowerment, where you no longer simply use the mental law, but become one with it. From the beginning, you were told this video did not find you by chance. And now, as we close this journey, you can feel why. Every whisper of the ancients, every line of the Kybalion, every echo of science has been pointing to you. Not the abstract you of humanity, but you, the one hearing these words in this moment, at this point in your life. Because the hidden law was never meant to remain hidden. It was meant to awaken in those ready to wield it. And now, you know. The universe is not something outside you. It is not cold, distant, or indifferent. It is mental. It is living. And you are part of its mind. Every thought you have is not small. It is a ripple in the vast ocean of creation. Every belief you hold is not private. It is a signal that shapes the field around you. This is the great Hermetic revelation. You are not a spectator of the universe. You are a participant, a co-creator, a spark of the all. Think of it. Every master who ever walked the earth knew this law. The pharaohs of Egypt, the philosophers of Greece, the alchemists of the Middle Ages, the mystics of every age, they all carried the same secret. And now it has reached you. Not through temples, not through scrolls, but through the very technology of your age. You have been initiated, not by ceremony, but by recognition. And once seen, this truth cannot be unseen. So what does it mean to live as creator? It means no longer waiting for permission, no longer blaming chance, luck, or fate, no longer shrinking into the illusion that you are powerless. It means standing in the quiet knowing, I am thought within the great mind, I am vibration within the great song, and by aligning my mind, I shape my reality. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the recognition that you are of the same essence as the stars, the rivers, the infinite. So pause for a moment now. Breathe deeply. Feel the joy. With settling into you, not as words, but as certainty. You are not broken. You are not small. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are creator. And from this moment forward, your thoughts are not random. They are sacred tools. Your mind is not a prison. It is the forge of destiny. The Kybalion is not just an ancient book. It is a mirror, reflecting back who you have always been. And so, seeker, the circle completes. From Egypt's temples to your own heart, from Hermetic scrolls to the glowing screen before you, the message has traveled across millennia to arrive here, now. All is mind. The universe is mental. Carry this truth. Live this truth. And never forget, the law is not outside you. It is you. You are the creator.